People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, guys. Today we have an amazing magician, fellow Fool Us winner, but this guy's outdone me because he has a couple of these trophies and makes me jealous. But president of SAM, past president of SAM, Society of American Magicians. He has his own show in Las Vegas now. This is a new thing. And guys, help me welcome Vinny Grosso. Vinny, what's up, man?
How you doing, Wes?
Man, that was all over the place, but I just want to get into this. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you to have your dream come true, your own show in Vegas. Dude, are you on cloud nine?
It's pretty crazy. It's great. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Well, dude, how'd you get started in magic?
Oh, man. I got started, I think like everyone, there was always an interest there, but the thing that kind of catapulted that interest into, dare I say, an obsession or something like that was when I was 12 years old. I was spending my summer in San Diego, and there was a magic shop there, and it was going out of business, and everything was like 50 to 60% off or more. And I had a little birthday money, and I spent it all at the magic shop, and didn't look back from that point on.
Wow. What was the name of the shop? Was it a famous shop, or was it just a...
So it was called the Magic Shop, and it was in this place called Seaport Village in San Diego. And I still believe there is a magic shop. Like that shop was closing down and changing hands, but there has constantly been a magic shop in that little touristy area of Seaport Village, but I just happened to be there when it was changing hands and they were liquidating everything.
Wow.
So it was cool.
You know, that sounds like the lamest question to start out. You know, how'd you get started? And everybody's like, oh, I was 7, and it's the same old thing. It's not, though. Every time I've asked that question, it's been different. You know, their grandfather got them, or last week, a guy was on, a couple weeks ago, the guy was on a school field trip and went into a magic shop, and that was it. And, you know, it's always different. I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah, for sure.
How long have you been in Vegas, and where are you from originally?
I am from New York. I usually, when people ask you like where you're from, I say New York, and then if they're like, "Ooh, that's cool," I just let it go. But then if they're like, "Oh, New York City," I say, "Oh, no, I'm from upstate New York," and then I clarify. So I'm from a very small town, 2 hours north of New York City, right on the Hudson River. It's called Coxsackie, New York. I would say like my closest neighbor growing up was Bambi, but I've been now my closest neighbor is Bambi in Las Vegas.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been here in Vegas. It'll be 7 years this summer. It'll be 7 years. So
wow.
I love it out here. Yeah.
Well, it never ends out there, that's for sure. There's always something to do, and there's so many magic friends to hang out with, and you can always try out new stuff.
That's exactly it. I mean, I say, like, I do not gamble. I do not drink. I've never been to a club. I just don't do any of the, like, vices of Las Vegas. But I absolutely love it here, and it's because of the people in this community, and also there's a lot to Las Vegas that people don't really see, from Red Rock Canyon and Valley of Fire and Mount Charleston and all these kind of outdoorsy things that people just don't do.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Because when you're on the Strip, I mean, every time we go there, we're just looking at hotels, and it's the weirdest vacation. You're just touristy, just walking through different hotels, because we're not big gamblers, and we have kids with us, so it's not like we can sit at the slot machine for 6 hours. Wow.
Right.
Wow. So, who do you hang out with in Vegas? Anybody we know besides Matt King? Who do you jam with? Who do you practice with? Who do you pitch stuff off of?
There's a a group of, I would say, like with you mentioned when we were talking before the podcast about Don't Everybody Leave podcast show that Matt, or online talk show that Matt does, and that group of guys, Michael Goudeau, Jacob Jacks, Jason England, and Nick DeFott, we hang out an awful lot in Vegas. And then I have, with my show, Stacey Jones, who people in the, that know Magic would know Stacey Jones from two different areas. One, she was part of the duo The Majestics, and also she grew up in a Magic family of Chuck Jones. So she's actually helps out a lot with my show, and she's just a very dear friend of mine. So there's that group with, and like with Stacey Jones, it's also Stan Allen and his wife and actually his kids I'm all friends with. And oh man, my really good friend out here, Nick Lang, who's from New York, and a younger guy, but he's just a brilliant mind in Magic. Very brilliant mind.
Wow.
So there's just all sorts of layers. I could spend the whole hour, Wes, with you just listing friends that are really good friends that are here in Vegas and just incredibly talented and wonderful people. It's a lovely situation.
Well, see, I'm envious because I'm out here in Virginia and I'm living with Bambi. I have,
Right.
I have to drive.
The one that has spots on her back, right?
Right. Yes, spots on her back. But I mean, it's 45 minutes to the nearest magician friend of mine to hang out with. And then, at least another 45 minutes to find another one.
Well, so I'll just tell you, this was my night last night, literally last night. I was busy doing stuff, and we're like, we still wanted to get together and go over a couple things in the show that I'm trying to change up on my show. So Stacy came over to my house, and across the street from me is Nick Lang, and he had a magician friend visiting him from New Orleans. They came over, and also across the street from me is Banachek. So he came over, and so we're just hanging out, and next door to me is Bill Smith as well.
Whoa!
So that just happens out of the blue. Like, we're just going over something. Just come on over, and we'll discuss this stuff, and that's how it happens. And then a few people from out of town also stopped in, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
That sounds so intense. That'd be like the best Magic convention around this area. Just what happened in your backyard last night.
Yeah, it's almost. I gotta say, like with the pandemic, this is great. Everybody that I mentioned there, we've all been vaccinated, so it's fine to come and hang out in my backyard. But during the more challenging times of the pandemic, part of it felt good in a way that it was like I got a break, because it seems like tonight I'm headed, after this podcast, I'm headed over to the venue to do some rehearsing, and then from there I'm gonna go over to the Rio and watch a rehearsal. Penn and Teller open in a couple days, or tomorrow they open. I'm sorry, and tonight is their rehearsal before that. So it just seems like and then the night after that I'm hanging out with other folks. It seems like it's.
Heck on, you're living the life, dude.
Don't get me wrong, this is not a complaint.
No, you're living the life, man.
A lot of stuff going on every single night. Yeah.
Dude, I'm not a jealous person, but when I hear my friends in Vegas mention all these names and doing all this stuff every night, we have a brand new set of twins. They're 6 months old. You're going to be hanging out with Penn and Teller tonight, watching their show. I'll be changing dirty diapers and wiping up messes. it's a totally different thing, man.
Yeah, we're definitely not hanging out. I'm just going to see the show. I will say, all the shows and people, Penn and Teller have been unbelievably responsible about handling the situation. So I'm really looking forward to seeing their show and seeing how they are dealing with the situation. I know I worked really hard, and part of it because I've worked really, really hard to put together a show that there are 0 volunteers, and the magic happens in their seats and stuff like that, so we can remain socially distant and all of that. And part of that is I purchased your coin flip routine. And I use that in my show, every single show, and it's fantastic.
I love it.
Way, I adapted it for what I needed it to be, which is, I'm sure, what you want anybody that does do the routine, not to just do it the way you do it and come up with their own kind of twist on it, but your technique and your method, I've incorporated into the show, and it's great. It's wonderful. But I am really looking forward to seeing how Penn and Teller address this situation and do the show. I've seen a couple other magicians. I saw Copperfield a couple nights ago. I saw Piff a couple nights ago as well. And they all have their own kind of approaches to how to handle shows during this situation.
So Piff is back open as well.
Yeah, Piff has been open the longest, and he's gone. He is a prolific writer of material. He is unbelievable. He is really. I can't say enough good things about Piff. So he's constantly redoing things and changing things up and all that. And it's so as things loosen up in certain ways, he's finding ways to capitalize on that situation with new material, and everything that he just puts in, you're just like, man, that is so clever, and that is wonderful.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, if you put pen on paper, pen to paper, and talk about Piff and just explain that character, you would say in a million years that would never work. I mean, what are you doing, daycare centers? That doesn't make sense. But man, it is just perfect.
And then here's the thing too. Like I've only seen him do kind of the comedy club stuff, and he's doing the main showroom in the Flamingo, and he has a production, and it is a production, and it's wonderful, and it's unbelievable. What he's done. Like you said, you would never think that those things would be possible, and I guess that's why he's doing it and we're not.
So as far as Vegas goes and all these acts open, is everybody just doing a volunteerless free show?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So, Copperfield, it's essentially the Copperfield show, but just with safety precautions of, mask wearing at certain times, when he's near audience members.
But is he wearing a mask?
Things are, he does when there's a volunteer on stage or if he's in the audience. But if he's on stage by himself, he'll pull the mask down. There's that. Piff incorporates a whole. I mean, to try to describe what Piff does would take easily this hour conversation as well. But he incorporates a whole bunch of different methods. I have a new piece that I'm going to put in to my show soon that has a volunteer on stage, but they will be more than 12 feet away from me at all times and never in contact with anyone. So, but as my show stands right now, no one leaves their seat. I mean, that they stand up because they have to, for the heads and tails piece and for a couple other things throughout the show, I'll have them stand up, but they don't leave their seating area.
It's so funny that this trick is just, it's so perfect for this time. It's so weird.
It is.
It's wow. Well, dude, I want to video this. This means the world to me. You gotta. I don't care if it's a cell phone in the back of the room or something. I want to see.
Oh yeah. No, I record all my shows, but I had a videographer come in to record a show on Sunday, and of course, the footage is pretty much mostly useless to me because I had this one group of people in, and this one lady was highly intoxicated, and
Vegas.
It was, every other word I was basically dealing with her, and we had fun, and the show was fine, but it's just not footage that I would send to someone or use in a promo reel,
Yeah.
kind of thing. It was just like one of those shows that, you deal with to make it fun and comfortable for everybody that's there, but it isn't anything that you advertise. But I'll definitely send you a clip of how I do it, because the payoff, so the big difference, the way I do it, there's a setup for it, and I don't have a payoff until 2 tricks later for the heads or tails thing. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing, there's no like, I'm going to study you because you're trying to pull one over with me.
Right.
It happens very organic and very natural and innocent. And then the payoff later for it, it's like, holy cow. And there's zero suspicion as to any shenanigans going on.
So you're just delaying it in a series of predictions. That's how you got that person up or whatever, and then you're revealing in a series of other revelations later?
Yeah.
That's
so,
nice.
I mean, if you want, I can describe it real quick. I can try.
Yeah,
to describe it real
sure.
Quick. But I do this very early on, and I talk. The name of my show is Totally Mental, and I describe it best as it's an FU to mentalism, to use Penn and Teller's term. In that, I basically want people to know that I don't have any mental powers. That this is, even though this is like a different genre, it's still me lying to the audience and doing essentially tricks. So I mentioned that I do this one bit, and then I say, oh, well, one of the problems with mentalism is that the person that I called on, no one ever really believes that was truly random. That it could have been, I could have prearranged it. I could have, all this. So I have a way that we can get someone at, completely random, and then I, take out the coin, and I have a camera so they can see the coin and doing the flip and all that. And I'll share with you later that there's kind of a variation to the technique.
Okay.
When you're using an iMac camera, that I'm happy to share with you if you want to include it with people that purchase your routine. So I get the person at random, and then I say that, okay, you're going to be my volunteer, but I need to let you know, first of all, not everything that I do is a trick. Some things that I do are a skill, and I go through this whole comedy bit. And then I say I think the audience has a skill, and then I just do this thing about 6 feet apart, but I then want them to tell me what 8 feet apart is, and I move mic stands at a distance until they say stop, and then I measure it, and it's a little more than 8 feet. And I say, well, that was a skill. I thought that was pretty good that they did. And I was like, but here's a prediction, and I take an envelope that was hanging the whole time, and it says the exact distance that they said the mic stands were, and then it gets an applause, and I kind of downplay it. I was like, okay, I know it's not that amazing. I told you to do it 8 feet, so it's it could have been a lot. There weren't a lot of. It was a very narrow window of what I had to guess. But here's something more specific, and then I turn the card over, and it describes the person. So the nice thing about seating people is I know people's names and everything else. So I have the person's name, and I said, wearing this and that will be off by 4 inches, whatever that person was off, and so it's a really strong payoff. Well after the fact, and they're not even, there's no heat on you at all during the routine. It's just a fun game, as I believe you intended it to be.
Wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, Penn and Teller said they're doing it too, but Teller's taking photographs of the audience. Did I tell you this already?
No.
He's going to run around taking photographs of the audience on Polaroids and making a big deal about it and playing with the audience. And then he's going to put the Polaroids on a wall behind him facing the wrong way. And then they play the game, have somebody come up and pick a Polaroid, don't look at it, and they play the game, and it matches the Polaroid they're holding in their hand.
Oh, wow.
So that's how they're doing it.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, yeah. But if
great.
they do that in rehearsals tonight, please call me, email me, text me, let me know. Because I think it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because it could be on the back burner and something they want to bring out 5 years from now. I don't know, but
Oh yeah.
having one Vegas headliner do my trick, I'm already over the moon. Having two, crazy.
Yeah.
So, dude, how about being a president of Sam? Did you travel all over the world with Sam doing that? Did you have to take a year off work? That sounds like so much work itself. The Society of American Magicians, if you don't know.
Yeah, and actually, when we're in a national council meeting, and if someone says Sam, we fine them $1 to any effort.
I owe you a buck.
Yeah, we'll say the SAM or the Society of American Magicians. But it was a fantastic year. It was a real fun year, and I did go overseas. I think I went to Japan for a little mini magic convention, and I went to the Magic Circle in the UK. But I did go all over the US, and I amassed a very large amount of debt having the fun year that I had. But
I've heard stories.
Yeah, luckily I've recovered from that financially, and I just have great memories of that time and great relationships with people that started from that situation. So
That's so awesome. Yeah, I've heard of, it's going to be a life-changing thing. You're going to meet all these people and, be able to do all these things, but it costs a ton of money to do it. And it's like, and, taking all that time off to be able to travel and see all those places.
yeah, I mean, there was a reason, people, when I was president, I think I was 35 at the time, and people were like, wow, that's, you're young and you're doing this. And that's pretty much because it was only really conducive to a retired person doing all this activity, because you're going to conventions all the time, and it's a lot. But I was at the time I had a consulting job, so I made my own hours, and it wasn't an on-site consulting job, and I also did tour managing, which flew me to all different places, so I would be able to piggyback on some of that travel and do visits to different assemblies and conventions.
So are you the youngest president at 35?
No. There were a couple. I think Dan Rodriguez was the youngest, but I think there were like 2 or 3 that were younger than me. But definitely one of the youngest for sure.
Wow.
So not many under 35, that's for sure.
So
I think Michael Douglas was younger than me as well. Yeah.
I have to look up that name. I don't know who that is. Yeah, I always go back after these, and if any names are dropped, I have to look them up and research them because I want to know as much as I can.
Michael Douglas is out of Modesto, California. He used to run the convention for many years, him and his wife, Lori Douglas. Lovely people. And he's been the chaplain for the SAM for a while. He's has his own, I believe it's his own ministry out in California.
You know what? Now it's making sense. I got it now. I put 2 and 2 together now. It just caught me off guard because Michael Douglas and the actor Michael Douglas, I didn't put him with that chaplain.
Sure, and then there was another magician who now goes by Mondre, who's a fantastic dove act, one of my favorite dove acts right now. And he's performing regularly in Las Vegas right now, Mondre. Mm-hmm. There's a show called Midnight Magic.
And that's with Bizarro's clan group.
Bizarro, Mondre, John Shaw, Lefty, and Anna Rosa, the hypnotist, and Holly England.
Right.
I think they go in and out, but that show's doing really well. So a lot of these shows are new shows doing well, like that one, myself, and then a lot of the staples coming back. So
that's all. I thought you were going to say Mondre's real name was Michael Douglas. I thought that's where
I'm sorry.
I thought that's where you were going with Mondre's real name was Michael Douglas.
It is.
Oh,
it is.
okay. Wow.
Yeah. No, that's why I brought it up. But just call them Montre now.
Yeah, yeah. So, doing research for you and looking on your website and stuff, performing for the troops, how was that? And I want to get in on that. I want to do that sometime before I'm dead. It's just trying to give back. You know, I'm always into giving back and helping out people. How was that experience for you?
It was fantastic. It was great. But here's my issue with that whole thing is you're volunteering your time. I did it through Armed Forces Entertainment, so they basically paid for my travel. And I was working for a company that it was great. This company was like, go do it, and you don't worry about the time off of work. You know, it's no big deal. But you go over there because for exactly what you're saying, you want to say thank you and you want to try to give back. But they are so stinking nice to you and so thankful to you that they make you feel like you're the one doing the sacrifice. And it bothers me how nice they are, during these things. Because you're like, hey, could you stop it? I'm here to thank you, not you thanking me. What I'm doing is nothing. What I'm doing is actually fun and enjoyable. What you guys are doing is sacrificing.
Where did you go?
So I did two small tours. I did a European tour, which was it started in the Azores, or the Azores, in the middle of the Atlantic, but it's technically part of Portugal. And then I think at Spain and Italy. And then I also did the Caribbean, which included Guantanamo Bay and a base in Puerto Rico, a base in the Bahamas. I was supposed to go to Ecuador, but I was in Guantanamo Bay, and I got a message from my contact through Armed Forces Entertainment at the Pentagon saying, I guess Ecuador changed governments, and I was supposed to do a show at the embassy, and instead the embassy has to reapply, for something. So that portion of your trip is canceled now. So, okay.
So I don't know if you know, we have our own television show with a network called Jewel TV, and we're always videotaping, different shows and different things. Do you think I'd be able to videotape there, or is it very much closed off? I mean, even just doing a vlog type thing. Would you be able to do that while you're there, or is it very secretive?
It all depends on which place you're at, and sometimes, oftentimes, the Armed Forces Network or whatever will have a reporter there doing an interview with you and filming some of your show, etc.
Okay.
So and again, I did this back in I think 2006. So who knows what's
changed?
What the situation is right now. Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for your service. You're amazing. You're awesome. All right. So, how about AGT? How was that?
Oh, AGT was interesting. That's for sure. So, when the first time I was on Fool Us, I was at a friend's house for a viewing party in Los Angeles. So it aired 3 hours earlier on the East Coast. And I actually FaceTimed my family. They were all watching it. So we watched it kind of together 3 hours before I was to watch it with the party. But no sooner did it end that I got 2 different emails from AGT.
Yeah.
Casting producers wanting me to do AGT. And I totally blew it off because I was like, okay, they just send this to everyone. They're not, they're just casting a big net, and I'm not the right act I'm not right for America's Got Talent kind of thing. But one of them I was like, because there were 2 different people, and I was like, can't you guys even talk to each other so you're not sending emails to the same people? And but one person I started chatting with, and I was like, look, I'm not right for it, and all this. And he was like, no, we think it'd be great and all this other stuff. I swear, for 6 to 8 months, I said, no, it doesn't make sense or whatever. And they just hounded, like, every time I said no, I would get, like, this email of, like, well, thanks for agreeing to do this, and here's the next step. And I'm like, no, I did not agree to do this.
Oh, gosh.
So my worry was that they wanted, because the first time I was on Fool Us, I did a trick where I was completely naked, and it made complete sense in the context of Fool Us.
And let me tell you, that is the most memorable performance on Fool Us. The naked dude on Fool Us. I mean,
yeah.
We watched, so when I was getting ready to go on, at breakfast every morning, we would watch a full episode of Fool Us. And coming home, celebrating quietly with my family, still watching Fool Us, I could tell my wife, hey, I'm going to have Sean Farquhar on, and she knows Sean. But if I told her that I was going to have Vinny Grosso on the podcast, she'd be like, well, she knows Vinny, but at the time, she'd be like, I don't know, honey, the naked guy that was on Fool Us, and she'd be like, oh, yes, that'd be great, yeah.
I got a picture in my head and everything. I mean, I know exactly.
I'm sorry. I find myself apologizing to way too many people when they say that they've seen the show.
But dude, I mean, to say I'm the guy that did the card trick, I mean, come on, what you did on there, and your second performance as well. I was on there with Gilbert. I mean, very memorable.
Yeah, no, the second one was a lot of fun as well. They were both amazing experiences for me. But I don't even know why I brought that up. With AGT. Yeah, so they wanted it, and I was like, Fool Us, as you know, Fool Us, their objective is to make you look as good as you possibly can.
Right.
And it's a safe place to do a magic trick. It is a really safe place to do a magic trick on TV. America's Got Talent, you never know. I didn't know if they were setting me up to be a laughing stock or they really thought it was good. And my routine was long to begin with, and AGT cuts it down even more. So I'm like, it's just going to be an exhibition kind of thing, and not this thought out routine of and justification for getting naked, etc., and all of that. So I was really reluctant to do it. That was why I was saying no. And then a friend of mine said, like, look, I can tell you all these different people, these really good magicians that had a bad experience on AGT, and nobody remembers anything. But I can tell you this: all you have to do is tell someone in your marketing that you were on AGT, and that's worth way more than any even if it was a bad if they presented you poorly or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, and you know what? I have really good footage of me doing this routine on Fool Us where I was presented really well. I had lovely comments from Penn and everything else, and I do a talk. I wrote a book, and I have this talk on, it's this whole thing that I was like, if this footage from AGT is really bad, this will be perfect for the talk as well, because I can show the same routine presented one way and then presented another way, and there's a lot that you can learn from it and build on and all that. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And
you created a win-win situation. That's perfect.
Yeah, and stepping out on stage for it, I honestly had no idea whether they were going to take me seriously or I was one of their, like acts that they make fun of. And I didn't know. All I knew is that I need to make this either, if it's going good, I need to make it go really good. And if it's going poorly, I need to make it go really poorly, because moderately good and moderately poor are not going to it won't air, kind of thing. So I was wholly prepared. If they started goofing on it, I was going to make it goofier, kind of thing. But luckily, they did treat it really well, and it went over great. I was very happy with how they did it, and they featured the whole act, which was not a lot of people. I got backlash from some magicians as if I had anything to do with this. The night that I aired in my segment, it was Eric Jones and Xavier Mortimer, and they're like, how come they put 3 minutes of this naked guy and only 30 seconds of Eric Jones or Xavier Mortimer? I was like, that's not me.
Right.
I'm a fan of Eric and I'm a fan of Xavier. I'd rather see them too, but it's how they produce the show.
Yeah, the talent doesn't get to choose production. Yeah. Wow. Well, dude, so you did good. Everything was good. AGT experience was exactly what you wanted.
Sort of. I mean, I got all yes votes, and so then I got like really into it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do this and all this other stuff. But that's the only routine that they wanted. So they even aired me getting all the yes votes and saying that I moved on, when in fact that's all they wanted was that routine.
So they never had you come back?
No, I never came back.
That is so weird. What a...
Yeah, no, that's not uncommon.
Well, look at Pendragons.
Like that.
Pendragons are the same way.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with them. I know Xavier Mortimer did a routine and got yes votes, and then didn't go on again, and then came back the season that I was on, and went further along.
You know what? That's really better than doing a second trick and then them just booing it. That's way better. Just
right.
disappear in oblivion. There's no bad footage of you on AGT. That's great. And no matter how good the trick is, if they boo it, the home audience thinks it's a bad trick.
Right.
So you won,
on top
dude.
of that, there's always, who knows? There's always a possibility of going back on too.
Right.
It hasn't. I haven't been eliminated from participating. So if it makes sense going forward, I'd definitely be open to it. So.
Wow. Well, we talked about Fool Us a little bit, but your second appearance, the first appearance, what was it? It was a card trick, right? Were you telling them the card naked?
Yeah, just by licking the card.
That's right.
I said I had an incredible sense of taste, and I could just lick a card and be able to tell what card it was. So to eliminate the possibility of me being told what the card was by any means other than licking, I had my ears inspected for a listening device. I got naked, and then of course Penn and Teller thought that the screen was. I blindfolded myself as well with Scotch tape, and Penn and Teller thought that the little privacy screen in front of me might have been signaling me in some way. So that's what they inspected, and I got lucky that they guessed that, because that wasn't how it was done.
That's when they looked in.
Yeah.
So the second time, I don't know where I heard this, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, but the second time you approached that second trick as a card trick, and they told you not to do it as a card trick, it'd be better. Am I totally?
Yeah.
Where did I hear that?
No. I don't know where you heard that, but I was talking to someone just the other night about it. Not in any sort of public forum, and I recalled that because I originally pitched it. I mean, the big thing with it was involving a celebrity and doing a magic trick with that celebrity, and I was going to basically do a version of McComical Deck with the celebrity. And I had a celebrity that I was going to use, and I pitched it with that, and they loved it. It was someone that I have worked with and know, but they were unable to do it. And so then I was like, I guess I can't do the trick. And they're like, well, what if you did the trick with Gilbert Gottfried? He's really good friends with Penn and Teller. How about that? And I was like, oh, I think that'd be great, but I don't know I don't know Gilbert. And they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll connect you. So they connected me with Gilbert, and we pitched Gilbert the trick together on the phone, and he was fine. Honestly, I mean, it could not have been a better person, because with the whole Gilbert Gottfried thing came up, then I was able to do the premise of the blurring the person out.
Right.
Which my friend Nick Lang, who I was telling you about earlier, he's the one that gave me that idea.
So funny.
And from that idea of blurring out, I came up with the thought of, okay, I stole this thing, and he doesn't want his, so that led to everything else to come up with the routine there. And I think it made for a much funnier and much better routine doing that. And then the producers were like, okay, this is all great, but can you do it without cards? Like, can you? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And so then I just thought of stuffed animals, and then I worked on a way to force an animal out of a box that, a different stuffed animal, when I had a box of just parrots. Like, how could the person reach in and grab a different animal? And that's how that all came about. But yeah, they didn't want any cards.
That was great. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you said that on the Matt King thing. I don't know. But
oh, maybe. Yeah, probably when after Mac's most recent appearance, we did a little extra Fool Us special, and we had like Mike Close and Matt Donnelly on,
right.
And we talked more Fool Us stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm really enjoying that. You're just part of the cast on that, but it's Matt King's Don't Everybody Leave. It's on YouTube, and it's like a weekly podcast interview show, and bunch of talking heads talking magic and entertainment and Vegas life, and I'm really enjoying it, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is fun, and the thought was we'll start this, and we're all in our little boxes and all of that because of COVID, and we're doing everything from our homes. But the idea is the thought, and I forgot when I was chatting with you before, but the thought that we had is that when we're past this, that we can do this show all together in Mac's backyard, like we normally hang out. So I think it will go on for a while, and it will probably end up us being in his backyard and the guests actually being there.
Wow.
This person's in town and hanging out with us. So.
Well, I mean, it's just like New York or LA. I mean, everybody eventually ends up in Vegas, so it's a great spot for a talk show. So, your book, Exposed and Fearless. Can you get that? Do you get that on Amazon, off your website?
It's on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. You can get an e-copy on my like a PDF on my website, or there's a link to Amazon, and it's available in both paperback and Kindle on Amazon. But I wrote that book, Exposed and Fearless, before I even had an idea of doing anything on Fool Us.
Wow.
And everybody thinks, oh, Exposed and Fearless, this is about you being naked on Fool Us. And while I updated the book with now on the third edition with stories from all of that, the original version of the book was I was exposing you to people that I know really well, either through tour managing or as president of the SAM and meeting and working with different people. And so I'm exposing you to a side of some of these celebrities that you would not see or would not know. Or in many cases, I'm exposing you to someone, maybe magicians would know, but other people would not know. And then the fearless part of it. So in that exposure, I dig into what made them successul. Like I was always interested, like what was the secret to you achieving this, amazing thing? So I'm naturally inquisitive, and through my time with them, I've discussed with them all this stuff, and I feel like I have a good sense of what it was for them. And and then the fearless part of it was came about because everyone that I talked to, fear played a role in them achieving their success, and it played a different role pretty much with everyone. And so that's why I added that fearless part to it. So each chapter, there's an exposed portion, a fearless portion, and then kind of like a summary, like pulling it all together kind of portion for each individual or group. Like I have Colin Mockery and Brad Sherwood from Whose Line Is It Anyway? They're a chapter as a group.
I think I need this book.
So that was the original version of it, and then the second edition and third edition have become me taking the lessons that I wrote about and applying them to myself and talking about my journey. So going from a tour manager and engineering consultant to now a full-time magician and living the dream that I wanted to, So I think the book is getting better and better because it's showing my essential journey of it and what I struggle with and how I'm still not there and what I'm striving for. So I feel it can be relatable.
And you also do public speaking on that subject as well?
Yeah. So I do a talk about based on the book most people want like the fear aspect, and I have this whole formula worked out on overcoming fear. But what I say, it's not about overcoming fear. That's not really what you want to do. You want to have some fear, but it needs to be manageable because it's the fear that will motivate you and push you to do really great things. And so fear is not a bad thing at all. Actually, a lack of fear is a dangerous thing.
I agree with that 100%, man. Yeah, but I still need this book. I'm always looking for different things like that. Even like a magic lecture. If I get one little nugget out of this thing, man, it'll be worth it.
Yeah. I have a friend's studio here in town where they do recordings for books, and I wanted to record it myself, and I just haven't gotten yet, but I will do an audio version of it very soon.
That's even better because I can listen to it when I'm walking my trails in my backyard or on the treadmill, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let me know when that comes out, and I'll pitch it on Twitter and stuff. I'll put it out there for you.
Oh, great. That'd be great.
So we got about 10 minutes left, man. Let's talk about your new headlining show in Vegas, man. This is, I can't do a drum roll, but this is huge, man. So where is it at? What's the name of it?
It's called Totally Mental, and it is at a place called Notoriety in downtown Las Vegas. Notoriety is this little gem of I guess I would call it a club. It's a venue that currently it has 2 theaters and more to come. It was the history of the physical space is it was a movie complex a while ago, and then they converted it into this esports place, and now a little, like I'd say like a year before so like almost 2 years ago now, this guy Ken Henderson in town took it over and has renovated it and is continuing to add and build upon it. But we have 2 lovely theaters in this place. I share one theater with David Goldrake, who has a magic show at the Tropicana here in Vegas for a long time called Imaginarium, and now his show is called M is for Magic, and he does some illusions in this space, and I do my show called Totally Mental, which is comedy mentalism in the space. So I went with this show when I was working cruise ships, I had two shows. I had Inconceivable, which was my comedy magic show, and then that was my main show, and there was no mentalism in it at all, with the exception of my finale, where I basically could recap the entire show. And then my second show on the longer cruises, where they asked me to do a second show, I did a comedy mentalism show, and this show that I called Totally Mental. And so this show, Las Vegas has a ton of magicians in town, so not very many mentalists. So I thought that would be, if I did a mentalism show, it'd be a nice way of differentiation. And then to further differentiate it among the couple of mentalists in town, mine was a comedy mentalism show as opposed to, these serious kind of mentalism shows. So I took, the stuff from my comedy mentalism show, but I also took stuff from the online show that I was doing, and there are a couple magic tricks per se in the show, but it was basically doing a hybrid of all these things, but it was it's certainly heavy on the mentalism, and then I wrote it to be a mentalism show with kind of an arc relative to mentalism. But I needed to pull things from all these different shows in order to make it work with no volunteers. So now that things are loosening up and different, I'm hesitant. I don't want to, just because they say, hey, you can do this, doesn't mean that I feel like maybe we should. So I'm kind of being a little extra cautious on it, but as certainly as time goes on and things get much better off, I will be introducing more things that can allow, if they're on stage and distant or whatever the situation is.
Do you feel like you have to do a caveat and tell people, hey, since I can't have volunteers, next time you come in 6 months, the show will be totally different?
Nah.
You don't have to say that. No.
Everybody knows the situation.
Yep.
And my thing is, I have one joke in there. It's the premise, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. I put mic stands at 6 feet apart, and I just say, hey, we all have this skill. How far apart are these mic stands? And everybody says 6 feet. But other than that, I don't want to. The same thing with my online show. There are two things that I did not want to do, and that is I did not want to reference the pandemic at all, and I did not want to make anything remotely political. Yeah. Because I felt like those two things were stressing people out, and they're here to see a show and get rid of stress, regardless of what they feel about politics, regardless of what they feel about the pandemic. Whatever their thoughts are on it, it's causing stress, and I want my show to be an escape and a sanctuary from both of those feelings. So.
I have friends in D.C. that do magic shows, and they're always talking about whoever's in the White House they make fun of. But it's like, why? You don't need that in your show. But I live and work in D.C. You don't think they hear enough of that? Yeah, it's overdone. You don't need that.
Yeah, and I think you somewhat alienate half your audience
right
away.
Yep.
So.
So what nights is your show open?
Right now, I'm Friday and Saturday at 9 p.m. and Sunday at 5 p.m. But I'm adding, I think May 13th. It's not official yet, but May 13th we're going to be adding Thursdays to our show.
Dude, that's awesome. That is great.
Yeah.
But people can get tickets on your website?
They can. There's like a little ticket button at the top of my website that sends you over to Notoriety's ticketing platform.
All right, I'm gonna let you spell your name because I misspelled it. I put Grasso. You told me that's not right.
Yeah. No, you're right. That means fat in Italian, and I was really offended when you did that. Grosso means obnoxiously big.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Please get it right.
I did not mean to do that. Dude, I love you. I would never do that on purpose. God.
He's not fat. It's obnoxiously big.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodness.
Wow. So Grosso.
Yeah, and then I have like a short code, like totallymental.info/TIX will get you right over to the ticketing website too. But VinnyGrosso.com, VinnyGrosso.com has all my information, and can. There's more on that website than anyone cares to know about me. So,
Dude, that's awesome. Facebook, Vinny Grosso Speaks.
Yeah.
Instagram?
And Instagram is at Vinny Grosso, and same as Twitter, at Vinny Grosso. But I can tell you, I am the world's worst social media person. Like, I do not, I just don't, I hate it. I don't do it. And I know I need to be better at it if I want to have a show that lasts a long time here in Vegas. But it's just not my thing, social media. But I don't know. I think I don't want to put anything out there unless I think, I would be interested in hearing or seeing that. And now with the show, it seems like every post that I have to put up has to do with the show, and I'm like, people would be sick of this. Like, why do they want to hear this or listen to this? So
dude, they can keep scrolling.
What's that?
They can scroll. They can just keep scrolling. Because a lot of people want to see that information.
Yeah, but then I'll be upset that I have all these followers and not everybody liked it.
You're too obsessed with it, man. You're thinking way too deep.
Oh, I know. I overthink everything, and that's part of the problem.
Italian, is that what it is? I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm all of my great grandparents were immigrants from Italy.
Wow.
100%.
Yeah, I repeat myself in an argument, and I'll keep saying the same thing over and over and over. Then I'll analyze the argument later on for hours. Yeah. I think it's the Italian thing. Yeah. Dude, you were awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get back to Vegas. We're going to check out your show. I want to hang out, man.
See you guys here.
I want to hang out. We get to go back whenever I'm invited. I still haven't gone back to perform with Penn and Teller since winning. So whenever I'm invited back, we'll be there, and I'll look you up and maybe at least do dinner.
That sounds great.
But hopefully I can come see Totally Mental.
That would be fantastic. Would love to see you there.
Dude, thank you so much. VinnyGrosso.com. Guys, the dude's awesome. And Vinny, stay on the line real quick, man. We're going to make one announcement, and we'll get out of here. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Tonight on Jewel TV, they're airing episode 7 from season 2 called Our Week Without Lana Part 2. Lana was gone for a while. What are we going to do during a pandemic? Just Natalie and I. She decides at 5 months pregnant, she wants to go hiking, see a waterfall.
That's right. It was fun.
2 miles straight uphill. Check it out, guys. You'll love it. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.